Welcome back to Wine Time Mysteries, where true crime and the unexplained collide. I'm Ashley, your host for today's episode, joined by Joey Voodoo, part-time genius, full-time handful. And today we're talking about a case that shook America to its very foundation. The murder of Laci Peterson, and the man who was supposed to love and protect her. To the outside world, Laci's husband, Scott, was charming, handsome, and successful. Basically the poster child for the American dream. But that dream turned into a nightmare. This is a story of how a golden boy from San Diego became one of the most despised men in America. If you enjoy listening to true crime stories and tales that send shivers down your spine, subscribe, rate, and review us on your favourite podcast platform. Your support helps keep the show going and brings you more stories that challenge reality. Be sure to check out our links at linktree/Winetime Mysteries.
When this episode comes out.
Yeah, it'll be my birthday.
Happy birthday to you. This is from Joseph of the Past. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ashley. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip hooray. So, doll, it's been a minute.
It's been a little while, hasn't it? Just address the elephant in the room of us not posting anything. We had a little bit of a break.
We did.
Just a little.
Just a little tiny break. I went on holiday to Japan for a couple weeks, and listen, in an ideal world we would have had, and we did have some episodes banked. My system decided to delete mine, so that was great. So then we just went a couple weeks without actually posting anything. Sorry about it. We're back now, and things should hopefully return to their normal schedule.
Yeah, you went on holiday. I just went holiday mode without going on holiday.
Hashtag vibe.
Do what I want. But we're back, and so we'll jump into today's episode on Scott Peterson.
Scott Peterson.
When I picked the case, that's all I could hear. I was like, Scott Peterson.
And that's what did it for you.
Yeah, that's what got me. So Scott Lee Peterson was born on October 24th, 1972. I don't know why that date sounds so familiar.
Neither do I. I think it's because a genius was born on that day.
Yeah, the world definitely shifted into a greater vibration on that day.
It did, and not because of my gravitational pull, fat bastard, but because of the fact that I was born.
You were born that day, you were. Yeah. Not that year.
86.
86, but you were born October 24th, weren't you?
That's right. Yeah.
No, Scotty wasn't born in New Zealand. He was born in San Diego, California.
San Diego.
He was the only child of Lee and Jackie Peterson, though he had 6 half-siblings from their previous marriage.
Someone was busy.
His upbringing was quiet, stable, even privileged in many ways. He was so privileged.
How privileged can one be?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. His parents were business savvy. His dad owned a packaging company and his mum owned a boutique. Scott had a reputation early on for being polite, clean-cut, and ambitious. He played golf competitively and dreamed of going pro. I want to be a pro golfer.
He's so cool.
You live your life. He was the kind of guy teachers liked, parents trusted, and girls gravitated towards. But there was always something underneath, something a little too polished, a little too calculated and controlled. It's always those ones you got to worry about.
It is, but I've also seen this Joker's face, and I'm telling you now, like, I might be in my slut era, but I'm not going there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he's got a face that you just want to smack.
With a brick.
Yeah.
A face that looks like it's already been smacked with a brick.
Yeah, I didn't like him, no. He started at Cuesta College and then transferred after a year to California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo to study business, graduating with a degree in agricultural business. And this would be where he met Laci Rocha. After graduating, Scott would become a restaurant owner and an agricultural salesman. What is that, you may ask? F*** me, let's just assume he sells agricultural products to companies. Anyway, Laci was bubbly, driven, and full of life. She walked into the restaurant where Scott was working and left him her number.
Oh, that's a very forward woman. I like that.
Yeah. They started dating almost immediately and were married by 1997. But inside that storybook romance, cracks would start developing early on. Scott and Laci moved to Modesto, California, where they bought a cozy home and began building a life together. Scott started working for a fertilizer company as a salesman, traveling often, and Laci focused on homemaking and planned for their growing family. By 2002, she was 8 months pregnant with their first child, a baby boy they would name Connor. Everything seemed ideal, but only from the outside, as always. What most people didn't know was that Scott was living a double life. Shock horror.
No way. Please tell me any of the other ones who were living double lives.
They never do.
Never.
Never. He had a long history of cheating, and by the fall of 2002, he was deep into an affair with a woman named Amber Frey, a massage therapist from Fresno. They're always named Amber, always a massage therapist.
Or some trifling hoe.
Yeah, because definitely not for her, because she was told that he was single. He told her he had lost his wife, but what he was really doing was laying the groundwork for a world where Laci didn't exist anymore.
Do you know a world where Laci didn't exist? If he didn't engage with her in the first place.
Yeah. Or
And he
just left
said,
her.
no thanks, darling, I don't want your number. Or if he was like, I'm not happy with this marriage anymore, maybe it's time for me to split skis.
Yeah, I'm going to get a le divorce. Laci, meanwhile, was preparing for Christmas and nesting for the baby. 8 months, as you do.
Well, I mean, it's pretty close. The baby could come any time now.
Yeah, you're close. She decorated their home, baked cookies, and picked out baby clothes, completely unaware that her husband was a piece of shit. No, he was, but they...
Listen, listen, I don't know this story, but I feel like it's going to be heading in a direction where he is a piece of shit, so...
Well, he's already cheating on his 8-month pregnant wife. Besides being a piece of poop, he had other plans for their future.
Right.
On the morning of December 24th, 2002, Christmas Eve, Scott left home around 9:30am to go fishing at the Berkeley Marina, which was about 90 minutes away. Bit of a drive.
That's quite a drive.
And I don't think Americans like to go too far as well.
I guess it also depends. They may be pretty landlocked where they are.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the closest watering spot. I know that we've gone. Old mate and I have driven for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours.
But in Australia, that's normal.
Oh,
We'll travel to the other side of wherever.
We'll drive to Sydney,
Yeah. In one trip.
else?
Is that normal for you Americans? Let us know. I'd like to know. When he returned later that afternoon, he said Laci was gone. He called her family, reported her missing, and told police she had gone for a walk with their dog and hadn't returned. A massive search began immediately.
Di would have to.
Which is good. I think also being 8 months pregnant, they were probably oh.
Yeah, you'd expedite that.
Yeah, volunteers and news crews flooded Modesto. Flyers were posted everywhere. Police and the community rallied behind the heartbroken husband. Quotation marks. But something felt off, as it always does.
What felt off?
You need to look up online because there's lots of videos of him doing press conferences and stuff like that, and you'll see what looks off.
We've spoken about this before. If you are a bad actor, sir, because it normally is sir, don't go on an interview on TV.
Yeah.
Because you are about to out yourself and incriminate yourself because you're not a good actor.
Yeah. It just never works.
It never works.
It doesn't work. Scott's behaviour was shock horror strange. It was strange. He was calm, detached even. He didn't cry in public. He even refused a polygraph test as well, like, which we know they're not fully accurate, but...
Even if you're not guilty, if you refuse one, you are literally gonna look like suspect numero uno.
Yeah, like, why don't you want to take the test?
Yeah.
Why? As if that wasn't sus enough, he talked more about selling Laci's car or putting the house on the market than he did about finding his wife.
Hold on. What? Please pause.
Pause.
What? At this point, she's just missing.
Yeah.
And you're already looking at her assets?
Yeah, like, why are you looking at selling her car?
You're going to sell her things? Like, are you not expecting her to come back, Mr. Peterson?
Scott Peterson. I don't understand that at all. That's not my first go-to when a partner's missing.
And you already look guilty as flick. So why don't you maybe wait a minute?
Just wait a minute.
Like, let's give him benefit of the doubt. Let's say he didn't actually kill his wife or she's pregnant and unborn child.
Yeah.
Let's say she really did go missing. Would you not wait a minute? Like, are you having financial troubles?
Yeah, like, why is that your first?
Yeah, I'll sell all of her things.
Well, better go sell the car. Don't need that anymore. Why?
Yeah, why?
There was a video as well, kind of jumping off, but also not, where I saw where, like, he tried to cry and he was doing that, but there was no tears.
Could you do that one more time?
He was doing the whole, like, and I'm like, where's your tears? There's no water there, sir.
I wish that our shit was, like, filmed.
And while the world searched for Laci, Scott was busy talking to his side piece, Amber Frey. Because that's not, that's what you do when you lose a partner. Like, your partner's literally missing, you continue your affair
and you
focus on that.
And you are probably a suspect, whether you know at this point or not. You will, like, the husband is normally the first person.
Yeah, the husband did it.
But you're still just trying to mess around with this Amber hoe. I mean, to be fair, she probably wasn't aware of this other lady.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, come on.
Yeah, be a bit smarter, I guess. On New Year's Eve, while holding a vigil for his missing wife and unborn son, he called Amber and told her he was in Paris. Paris. Like, why? That's it. Yeah.
Like Paris, Texas, or Paris, France, y'all?
France, y'all. He was talking about, like, how the Eiffel Tower is and all of that.
I would say it, I will say it. Where was my invite, bitch? And then I would have said, send me a photo right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right now.
Show me a street sign in front. Go to the Eiffel Tower, bitch. Look, if I'm in a relationship with you and you just turn up in France?
Ducked out to France,
Nah.
It's just like, of all the lies, that's what you chose.
If you want to see crazy, lie to me.
Yeah. I dare ya.
Lie to me.
Not only had he lied to her again, he pretended as if nothing had happened. Well, what he didn't know was that Amber had gone to the police. She was recording every call, and those recordings reveal just how manipulative and calculated Scott really was.
Okay, listen. I'm really proud of her for, doing that.
But also there's that part, it's like, why are you recording it?
I think what would make sense to me is if she started seeing these things on the news.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think after the fact.
Yeah, I can't imagine that she would have been recording it from day one. She would have had to have a really good, like, spidey sense for crazy.
Yeah.
But I think if I turn on the news one day, if it's national news, you dumb rooster, then you have to assume that your side piece is going to see it at some point on a newspaper, in a magazine, on the television. It's going to be everywhere. So what? She doesn't have access to, like, I don't know, outside?
April 13th, 2003. It's just after sunrise in Richmond, California.
Oh, cute.
A couple is walking their dog along the edge of the San Francisco Bay.
Less cute because I kind of have a sense of where this might be going.
Yeah, when they spot something bobbing near the shore. It was the body of a small baby. Umbilical cord still attached, the skin translucent from the salt water. The next day, less than a mile away, the decomposing torso of a woman washes up, headless, limbless, and almost unrecognizable. Along with the body, they found a distinctive piece of maternity clothing, tan pants that matched what Laci was last seen wearing, And they also noticed that the uterus was absent and that the baby appeared to have separated post-mortem. After testing, the DNA confirmed what investigators had feared for months. It was Laci Rocha Peterson and her unborn son, Connor. And it's either an eerie coincidence or a big fat red arrow, but we know you listeners are not dumb, not silly. The location just so happened to be a short few miles from the Berkeley Marina. You know, the place where Scott said he'd gone fishing the day before, or the day she disappeared, not the day before.
Snap. So this joker gave them the location
Yeah,
of where he dumped the bodies.
pretty much. What a coincidence that would be.
Such a coincidence.
90 minutes away, she's disappeared, pregnant, heavily pregnant, car, wallet, everything at home.
Do you know what, though? If they were to... That's almost kind of smart, apart from the fact that it's not. Because if they were to go through and take a look at, like, traffic cam and GPS sort of stuff, they would see he went out there. So that's not actually that dumb.
Yeah.
But it's still dumb.
But you're still dumb. On April 18th, 2003, just 5 days after the discovery of the bodies, police moved in. Scott Peterson is arrested in La Jolla, near the Torrey Pines golf course in San Diego County. I don't think I would be golfing when my partner was missing. And then I've just heard, well, maybe he hadn't heard the body had washed up, but I wouldn't be golfing. I'm just living my life.
It's not a time to be on a holiday mode.
No, your wife's missing. Your son's missing.
I'm hooking up with this side chick. I'm selling my wife's assets. I'm golfing.
And the thing that was weird as well, police believed he was planning to flee as his hair and goatee had been bleached blonde. He had black hair.
I have seen this man's face.
Yeah.
It didn't look good black. It ain't gonna look good blonde.
No. And he also had $15,000 in cash, camping gear, 4 cell phones, and his brother's ID. What are you doing?
And where are you going, Joker?
Yeah. As you'd expect, public opinion flipped overnight. To be fair, I feel like it had been flipped from the get-go when you're kind of just living your life, looking at selling your assets while your wife's missing, you know.
And you can't even cry. Like, to be fair, also, if I had, like, murdered someone and I had to do, like, a interview thingy on it, I would be probably in the same boat. 'Cause, like, I'm never going to murder anybody, but, I mean, these people probably said the same thing. But I actually, like, will never. More likely to be a victim than a criminal. But I know my limitations, and I know what I can and cannot do. And I cannot act to save my life. My lying is terrible.
You'd think that'd eat you up inside, not just be able to, like, live your life. Now, shock horror, the grieving husband was the prime suspect.
Suspect numero uno.
The case, which had already captivated the nation, now became an obsession.
Of course, same. To me, that's kind of like the case with, another Amber Heard in Chinatown. When that stuff was going on, I was glued. I was literally watching, like, law and crime TV every second I could to get updates. I was watching everything. It was a real problem.
Watching the bad acting.
Hers.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, back to you.
Once Scott was in custody, he was then brought in for questioning. And this is where things get particularly chilling. He never asked once what happened to Laci or Connor. Not in the car, not in booking, not in the interview room. Guilty.
Very sus.
According to Detective Alan Broccini, one of the lead investigators, Scott remained calm, even cold. His demeanour never shifted. No panic, no grief, just detachment.
Was he dead on the inside?
Sounds like it. Like, I wonder if he really cared from the beginning. When asked about the fishing trip he allegedly took on Christmas Eve, he stuck to his story but gave inconsistent details about what he was fishing for. What were you doing out there, Scott?
Yes, Scott.
What were you actually fishing for?
What did you catch? Some sturgeon, maybe?
Yeah, well, first it was sturgeon, then it was striped bass. Then he couldn't name the exact bait he'd used. I'm sorry, as a fisherman who has a boat, you would know what bait you're using.
Well, especially if you're a fisherman, and what kind of fish you're targeting to catch in that area. Striped bass. Do we know if this place was like freshwater? No, it was saltwater. It's straight. I know that there's sea bass, and I know that there's like other bass, which is freshwater bass. That would be so funny if the bass he was talking about is in freshwater, not saltwater.
Wasn't even, yeah.
What a dumbass.
What a dum-dum. Detectives asked him if he knew the area where the bodies were found, but Scott said he didn't. They reminded him that it was the same area he told them he went fishing, and still no emotional reaction. Not even a fake, what?
No way. That is such a coincidence.
Wouldn't you be like, you're in like custody? Wouldn't you be like, oh my God, what? What do you mean? Maybe you'd just given up by then.
Well, I was going to say, like, we know he can't act anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, maybe at that point he's like, anything that I say past that's going to be incriminating, I'm just going to shut up.
Even more damning, they confronted him with the evidence that his alibi now placed him exactly where the bodies surfaced. Oh, Scotty.
Again, dum-dum.
And Scott, cool as ever, just nodded. They pressed him about the affair with Amber Frey, which had gone already public, obviously. He admitted to it, but minimised it, saying it was a mistake and had nothing to do with Laci. He didn't realise Amber had been working with the police and recording their calls.
Most people, I mean, okay, first of all, I'm like not here for a snitch, but...
What?
There are certain circumstances where that's fine, and it's not like they were about that life, you know? It's not like they're in the mob or anything. So, snitch is gonna snitch, a cop caller gonna cop call.
Yeah.
This is what they do.
Another thing I didn't like is in one of the interviews, I swear it was on like a news interview or something, or maybe it was in the interrogation, like one of the interviews. I don't know. I did say it though. He was like, oh yeah, but Laci knew about it. Don't be frickin' saying your wife knew you were cheating on her when she's not around here to say.
Otherwise.
Yeah, like trying to minimise. Oh yeah, but my wife knew about it. They asked him why during one of those recorded conversations, days after Laci vanished, why he'd told Amber he was in Paris at a New Year's celebration.
Yeah.
And Scott gave no real answer.
Because he didn't have one.
Yeah, why? He didn't cry. He didn't break down. There was no anger, no horror, no confusion. Just a man in a chair giving short answers.
Yep. Nah.
Yep.
Okay.
The key moment in the interrogation wasn't a confession, as Scott never cracked. But when the investigators showed him autopsy images of the baby, his own son, he finally looked away. Just briefly, his voice wavered for the first time. Still no tears and no questions. No, what happened to them? No, who did this? Just silence. Like, wouldn't you be going, what happened? Tell me everything.
Also, like, you got... I'm not even going to say emotional. His voice wavered and he looked away. Like, he got a little sense of whimsy. But if he didn't want a baby, if he didn't want a child, as I'm probably going to assume he didn't, why would you get upset at that being brought up? Is it because you know that, like, if someone is accusing you of killing a baby, you're mate. You're f***ed.
Yeah, that's just, yeah, it's next level. It's not okay.
No.
A trial is meant to uncover the truth, but in the case of the People vs. Scott Peterson, that's it. I just want to say his name like that. The truth was tangled in media frenzy, circumstantial evidence, and a jury divided by emotion and doubt. Scott Peterson was charged with 2 counts of murder, first-degree murder for the death of his wife, Laci Peterson, who was 27 years old and 8 months pregnant.
So young.
So young. Second-degree murder for the death of Connor, their unborn son, which I was kind of surprised at because things get a little bit tricky when it's a baby that's still
Well, that's why it's
inside.
second degree. So the action of the baby dying was a result of the mother dying.
This dual charge was significant. It was one of the most high-profile cases where the murder of a fetus was prosecuted under California's Unborn Victims of Violence Act, passed just a few years prior. If convicted, the prosecution would seek the death penalty.
Yeah, good.
So they should. Opening statements began on June 1st, 2004, and the trial would stretch over 5 months. The prosecution, led by Rick Distasso, did not have direct forensic evidence. There were no eyewitnesses, no murder weapon, no crime scene, no blood. That'd be so hard to put together. But what they did have was motive and a mountain of circumstantial evidence. They painted Scott as a man who wanted freedom from impending fatherhood and suburban life. Their core argument, that he killed Laci to be with his mistress, Amber Frey. The jury heard dozens of tape phone calls between Scott and Amber, some of which occurred after Laci had already vanished. That's just messed up. As we said earlier, one of those calls, Scott told Amber he was in Paris for New Year's Eve. In reality, he was at a candlelight vigil for his missing wife.
Oh, it gets even better then.
Yeah, you were in the city of love and romance while you're at your wife's vigil.
Messaging your mistress. Yeah, that's so messy.
Then came the marina evidence. Investigators had used Scott's fishing alibi to backtrack tidal patterns. They demonstrated that the bodies of Laci and Connor could have drifted from the exact location Scott claimed to have been fishing on the day she disappeared. Like, you've gone fishing, then your wife and son have shown up in that exact same spot, just down from there.
Yeah.
Like, that's not
suspicious at all.
They also introduced a homemade anchor Scott had crafted from concrete, a mould found in his warehouse with one anchor missing, suggesting he had made multiple. The prosecution's theme was simple. He didn't want to be a father, he didn't want to be a husband, so he got rid of both. Scott's defense attorney, Mark Geragos, went on the offensive. He argued that the entire case was circumstantial, hinging on character assassination, not evidence.
Right.
Pretty sure you've already shown what kind of character you are.
Grasping at straws, mate.
That's the grasping at
I
straws.
like that. Yeah.
He claimed Laci may have been abducted while walking the dog. He pointed to alleged sightings of Laci post-disappearance that were never followed up. He said that the prosecution had no time of death, no eyewitnesses, and no direct evidence linking Scott to the crime scene, because Geragos claimed there wasn't one.
Apart from the fact that she was found 90 minutes away where he said he was fishing the day she went missing.
So someone abducted her, kidnapped her, whatever, murdered
from her home, took her to the same place 90 minutes away where he was. What a weak case.
Yeah, that's just, it's ridiculous. He attacked the media spectacle surrounding the case, arguing that it tainted the public and the jury against his client before the trial even began.
Oh my God, Amber Heard much?
Yeah. The defense's core message, you don't convict someone of murder on suspicion and bad behaviour. After 5 months of testimony, closing arguments wrapped up on November 1st, 2004. The jury began deliberations. 2 jurors were dismissed during deliberations, one for misconduct, another after clashing with other jurors. Despite the shake-ups, the jury pressed forward. That's wild.
Good on them.
People are just...
That's so dramatic though.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, what side of the fence were they on? Were they more in support of him and then that's why there was a clash? Because I can't imagine that anyone from the jury would have been on his side.
You'd hope not.
Because that's weird.
Very weird. On November 12th, 2004, the jury returned a verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Laci Peterson. Guilty of second-degree murder in the death of Connor Peterson. Gasps were heard in the courtroom. Outside, would you be gasping? You'd be cheering because you'd be like, cool, this monster's going to jail. Outside crowds cheered. There you go. Scott sat expressionless. If you weren't guilty, you wouldn't just sit there and go, oh well.
I mean, that kind of seemed to be his response with everything else.
I just don't how much of a psycho do you have to be to have no emotion through all of this?
Major psycho.
Yeah. Then came the sentencing phase. On December 13th, 2004, the jury recommended the death penalty. Judge Alfred DeLucci formally sentenced Scott Peterson to death by lethal injection on March 16th, 2005.
Good night, nurse.
You'd hope so, but rules aren't always set in stone.
Oh, great. Where's this going?
In 2020, the California... This is wild. You were sentenced 2005, you're still on death row in 2020. So in 2020, the California Supreme Court overturned his death sentence due to issues with jury selection. That's also a long gap in between.
Yeah.
Really long gap. In 2021, he was resentenced to life without parole. And in 2024, the Los Angeles Innocent Project took on his case, claiming new evidence might point to someone else. Still, no alternate suspect has ever been confirmed, and Scott Peterson remains behind bars.
Where he belongs, that filthy animal.
His name did happen to come up again in March 2025, when Scott Peterson was beaten by a fellow inmate whilst playing pickleball. I did a little Google, and apparently pickleball combines elements of tennis, badminton, and paddleball. I don't know, get a life. I don't understand.
I would never play Pikachu. That sounds so stupid.
It's weird. It's a sport I think that was only made up in like 1960 or something. I don't know.
That means it's been around for long enough.
Too long. The inmate was set off by Peterson charging at him, trying to catch the ball. Corrections officers broke up the fight. Peterson was injured but did not require hospitalisation. Boo-hoo. I literally wrote boo-hoo.
Boo!
Scott Peterson didn't just murder his wife and unborn child. He tried to erase them. He built an alternate reality where he was free, single, unburdened. He lied to everyone he knew, and he never looked back. This wasn't a moment of rage. It was a slow, calculated plan by a man who wanted out and decided death was easier than divorce. It's one of the clearest examples of a sociopath in modern true crime. Not because he raged or exploded, but because he didn't. He smiled, he posed, he lied, and he planned. And he played golf.
Yeah, drive to golf.
Yeah.
And fishing, probably.
Next time on Wine Time Mysteries, a respected officer, a hidden obsession, and a case that blurred the line between fantasy and intent. Gilberto Vale's story raised a terrifying question. When does a dark imagination become a real-world threat? Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, some monsters don't hide in the shadows. Sometimes they live right beside you, smiling at the camera. Okay, I gotta go.
Why?
My bread's in the toaster and it's about to go against the grain.
Right. Okay then. Goodbye.
But inside that storybook romance, butt cracks would start developing early on.
Cracks.
Butt cracks.
Remove the butt.
Well, yeah, besides being a
A paper pie?
a massive share.
Well done.
Good job.
Yeah, I already know we're cutting all that out anyway. Yeah. Boring.
Well, you want me to put it in there to start shit. You just want to watch the world burn.
Sometimes. Wayne's World, party time, excellent. Showing my dog stood on a bee.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.